Welcome back, Inebriart. I know I have been away for a bit. It's been a crazy busy summer already. But I am your host, as always, Andy. And it's been it's been so long that it's gotten the song "It's Been a Long Time" stuck in my head all day. But we have a returning guest, Tim Kirk. Welcome back to the show.
Good to hear you.
So you have a new book out. Your old book was I have it right here. I'm so kind of unprepared. I shouldn't be. It was Christ Never Showed Up, and if memory serves, are you the one that we were? I think on the last one we were talking. You were writing puppet show scripts for Christian schools. Was that
Yeah,
okay? All right.
yeah. I had a whole crew of friends that were writing for a Christian database that did uh, puppet plays scripts for Christian puppet plays, and so we wrote them for them. And they were a little subversive. Apparently, they were one or a couple of them got really some big. So they had a couple of them got very popular. So
Yeah, it's so funny because it's like lately I've been seeing all this CGI Trump art, and I'm like, do I just do some Trump images and just grab some of that money from those people? It's kind of that
gosh,
same.
yeah,
But that's not why we're here. You have a new book
okay,
out.
yeah.
All his damned mother's sons, which the initial email I was a little confused by. So is this like a what if Elvis died in the army? Is that kind of
That's the idea. That's the basic
so?
idea.
How did this idea come about? It just seems such a
Well, yeah. Well, there's the there's the Sex Pistols have this song, "Greatest Rock and Roll Swindle."
Mhm.
Are you familiar with the song?
Yeah, yeah.
And towards the end, there's a bit where he says, "Elvis Presley died in 1959." I think it's just a quick bit, and a kid, it just stuck with me. I was like, "What?" I think it's just a fuck you to Presley at the point,
Yeah.
but it just stuck with me, and I was like, "Whoa, he like just some weird like conspiracy idea or something." And then years ago, I ran into from John Lennon saying Elvis Presley died when he went joined the army, and I think what Lennon was doing was being snarky about his music before and after that. Before he liked his music and he didn't like it afterwards. And I think that's because the music afterwards was mostly for the movies, and then his when he went into started doing the the Vegas stuff,
Hmm.
you know. Um, but I was like, oh, let's take this really to it that he did it, and but the biggest part was that I had a character that I wanted to take down the track of Elvis, and I thought it would be fun if he had to do it because Elvis was gone and he was having to sort of follow in his footsteps.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because I feel like it's almost like that. The term they always use for TV, like jump the shark. I feel there's so many bands and musicians and whatnot that like there's a point in their career where they just change for some reason or another, and it kind of like it, I always hate, and it's a terrible thing to say. I know this is a terrible thing to say, but I hate when I really like a band who has drug use problems, and then they clean up
Yeah.
because I feel like the music
Uh-huh.
just is never the same.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
and it's good for them. They should do that, but it's just like, there's I don't. There's always that kind of like weird point if you stick around long enough, and some of it's maturity, and some of it's just like you have access to do more things than you could ever do before. And if you're a band like the Sex Pistols that's all about being stripped down and raw, if you start adding an orchestra to it, it just might not work. And so like sometimes
Yeah.
that success is like a bad thing.
Yeah. I think for Elvis, in fact, the going to Vegas and having this one spot with everything there really was actually an enabling thing for his drugs
Yeah.
because he didn't have to worry about going on concerts, going on the tours, all that stuff. He just was up in his penthouse, just walk downstairs, do a show, go back up. So that's kind of perfect for a junkie, really.
Yeah. And I've been to Vegas a few times over the past couple of years, and I have found the appropriate amount of time to be in Vegas is 48 hours.
Yeah, agreed.
Any more
Agreed.
than that, you're just like, this place is awful.
Yeah. I was there once for a week doing some research when I was a screenwriter and I'd been paid to do something and it was just driving me out of my mind. I was so unhappy.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't like, I understand the appeal of gambling, but like I've had, friends of mine who take their family and they're like, oh, there's just so much to do for families out there.
oh,
And I'm like, there's not, man. Like,
no,
I
man.
don't,
That's
yeah.
child abuse right there,
Yeah,
man.
kind of. Yeah. It's crazy. Um, So can you tell us a little bit about this main character? Like what's the inspiration for the character? Is it someone you know, or did you just kind of always have this idea of cooking for this character? Like why
um,
why does he fit Elvis? I think that
okay. Uh, well, yeah, so this character, well, actually, it's an interesting backstory. I had this buddy, Josh, um, and he's gets the dedication in this book, and he's sadly he's no longer with us, but he was just a real character and a really incredible guy. But he had written this screenplay. He's always writing these screenplays that just never got made because they were just really crazy. But he'd written this character about Eddie Novak. You know Eddie Novak?
I know the name. Why do I know that name?
Well, he sang the song called Psycho.
Okay.
It's this crazy. It's actually it's an older. He didn't write it, but he was just singer and he sang this song anyway. So he wrote this whole screenplay about this character who didn't do any research. He just made up this character. And so I was like, God, that's so wild. And I was like, um, it'd be interesting to kind of write a story kind of about a guy, uh, a a country western or a rocker, right? Uh, just a music guy, and follow his life a little bit. And so I started writing this character, just sort of playing around with it, and I started writing short stories about him, and a couple of those ended up in a collection that I have, and so I had him playing a lot in the late '40s, doing Western swing, which was a big deal out then.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to do another story, so I'm doing other stuff and different genres. And then I kind of started thinking about, oh, it'd be really interesting if he got kind of. So I had him. So the idea is that he had a bad backstory, bad childhood. At like 12, he left to LA, started just he good guitar, could sing, charismatic, and he was just bouncing around from different bands, doing recording studios, sessions when he could, right? But never the front man, right? and I had an idea of like, what if he got a chance to be the front man, but at like 22 is pretty young, but
Yeah.
for him, he's already an old man, really, and he's been doing this for a while. And then I was like, wow, what if he got Elvis's job? So kill Elvis, he takes over. So that was my idea. So I had to kill Elvis to have him do it. And so I thought that would be really wild because then he's got all the pressure of everyone going, well, is he the next Elvis? So what? Is he going to be as good as him? Is he going to have, and all these people that loved Elvis are going to hate him,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's got all this pressure and all this backstory of all his pressure of all this bad childhood, and he has to go through it. And so then the fun too is I kind of track Elvis's career as well. Not obviously, but he goes through a lot of what Elvis went through. So that's we follow that. We're following that, and we're following. Then on the other side, we're following these other characters that we know are sooner or later going to kind of come together.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's interesting, and it goes from 1959 to 1973 over the book.
And it's funny as I get older, I see more and more of the bands that I kind of loved and grew up with go through that kind of like having to replace a member or a lead singer. I feel like lead singers and then sometimes the lead guitarists are the most noticeable. But like Alice in Chains got a new lead singer. Um, Linkin Park recently added a new, and that was like a huge thing because they went with a female singer opposed to a guy, and
Right.
it's I can't imagine the not only the pressure but just kind of like all the hate that you have to like be able to deal with, and it's just like I can't.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the same guy, but you don't want to be completely separate.
Yeah.
um the only band that I think ever did it and just had like almost a photocopy vocally anyways was it Journey that got like this.
Oh, that kid.
He's like
Yeah.
a Filipino kid and he sings exactly like the Journey singer.
Yeah. And he was in a tribute band before, right? If you
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. But in
But
like that's fine, but it's like I can't. At what point are you like, oh, I'm just doing someone else's music? It's really interesting because that kind of passing of the creative torch is something pretty unique to like music and bands.
yeah. Well, I love the story when Motley Crue, they got rid of the first singer and they got this new guy and they went on their first tour and they started at Japan and they got off the plane and there was like a million fans there. And Tommy Lee turned to the singer and said, "Get used to it, man." And the guy said that was the top. That was the top, and it just went down from there.
Down
But
from there, yeah.
yeah, no one wanted. They didn't want the guy. They wanted. I can't remember the name of the first singer, but they want.
Vince Neil.
Yeah, right. They
Yeah.
wanted him back.
And it's
So
like you and I'm kind of the same way. As like I'd rather I had this conversation the other day. I was talking about Guns N' Roses
yeah,
and I'd seen them when they just started touring again. And we are having this conversation and someone's like, oh, like Axel's terrible now. I'm like, I saw him, he's pretty good. And he's like, you really do you think so? I'm like, well, he's not like 25-year-old Axel. He's older, he
yeah,
can't do exactly, but I'm like, it was a good show, he's still a really good performer.
yeah,
But yeah, it's yeah, I think the only band that has ever made that transition seamless is Van Halen.
yeah, yeah,
They never lost a step, but like their David Lee Roth music is completely different than their Sammy Hagar music. It's almost like a
yeah,
different band.
yeah, yeah. And Sammy could could sing all the old stuff, so it
Yeah,
worked.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But so were you or are you an Elvis fan, or would that
Uh,
just kind of like fit the narrative of the book?
I am. I mean, I am, and I'm sort of I'm sort of a second second life Elvis. I mean, I like all of it, but I do like the Vegas Elvis. I have a I had a good friend in college. It kind of got me into Elvis. He was one of these guys. He kind of didn't go to high school. He finished high school and he didn't go to college for a couple of years. He had a whole other life. And then when he came and he was really he was a musician. And one night we were talking about a favorite band, guitarist, and he said it was James Burton, who was uh, Elvis's guitarist in the later years.
Yeah,
And he's like, yeah, he's one amazing guitarist. All those guys in Elvis's band there. And I was like, are you kidding me? Because I just figured it was just a joke band.
yeah,
And he was like, no, they're all really good. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, and we watched some stuff. And I was like, James Burton was also the guy that came in and put the cape on Elvis every night.
oh yeah, 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 yeah,
So I was like, that's so embarrassing. And he goes, yeah, he's one of the greatest. So I started listening to stuff and was like, these guys are really good. And I was like, wow, this is really pretty good music. And I just kind of got into it. And I also just like the whole idea of like sort of the fallen angel that he's still rocking out anyway, you know. I kind of like that whole idea, you know. Um, so I like Elvis, and I don't like put it on every day or anything, but I do like it, and
yeah.
I like to think about, you know, all the shit he went through, and it's very interesting to me. You know?
And it's just I find that like when you kind of stop and look back, it's the people that brought rock and roll to the mainstream. It's kind of like the same thing as like when you look at Tolkien and be like, oh, a wizard with a long beard and a pointy hat. That's such like a trope. It's like, yeah, but that's where the trope started.
Right.
Like it's hard
Right.
to look at these bands and be like, oh, that just sounds like this, that, and like, no, those other things sound like Elvis or sound like Buddy Holly. That's who they're copying. You know,
Agreed. Agreed. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I never got into Elvis, but I do put on some Buddy Holly now and again. Um,
Sure.
that was
Yeah.
kind of
No. Those days were right at the forefront. We went to my daughter's 17, and they were playing. They had a battle of the bands thing, and a guy played "Don't Fade Away." Their band played "Don't Fade Away," and I was like, Brian, I got to play. My daughter's name Brian. I was like, I got to play the original of this, you know. And it was, you know, it's like holy shit because it's so
and
different.
and that's one of those funny things is like I don't think I definitely didn't when I was a kid realize how many covers the bands I loved were they were playing their favorite musicians at the time. I didn't like um I'm not so bad at song titles, but Nirvana did a David Bowie
Oh
cover
yeah,
in their unplugged.
man who man who sold the world.
Yes. I had no idea that was David Bowie song till like
Yeah,
years
yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And this kid was playing. It was sort of a mix of the Rolling Stone and the Grateful Dead version of "Don't Fade Away," you know. And so
Yeah.
I didn't play her the original version, the Buddy Holly version. Pretty interesting.
Which did she prefer?
I think she liked the original because she was liked it. It
Yeah.
was really, you know, it was really right to the beginning. You know, really, it's just down there. It's pretty cool.
Because that's one of the I love when bands cover other musicians, but it's like I feel there's two ways to do it. is one to sound exactly like the original, like when Weezer did Africa. I mean,
Right.
it's almost indistinguishable, which is
Yeah, it's
fine.
true. Yeah.
Or to take it in a completely different direction and just almost do like an entirely new version of the song. When Cash did "Hurt" by Nine Inch Nails, and
Right.
Chris Cornell did "Billie Jean." It's so different that it just kind of like almost reinvents the song. I feel like the ones that don't really work are the ones that try to do a slightly different version but stay true to the original. I feel like those just never hit the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I had a lot of fun in this book too, is that I have another character who was big Elvis fan, and when he dies, it's not like he wasn't like an incredible fan, but he was a high school kid and and also a guy without a whole lot of a family, family thing. His father was he's a in grown up in Reno, family's a rodeo guy. Father's a rodeo player, but he'd broken his back, so he wasn't doing much as a father. But anyway, he was just really into Elvis, and he kind of went with the look. He had the hair and the look, the the, the leather jacket and everything. And he sort of just and it was working for him. He's getting the girls and everything, and he's still in high school. He wasn't really figuring out what he's going to do, but he just kind of had this feeling like if I if I just kind of be like Elvis, everything's going to work out. That was just kind of how he was thinking. But then Elvis dies, and he's like, oh, what am I going to do? Um, and so then these kind of rich kids come along. Hey, we got this idea for a thing, a little crime, and then he just kind of goes, oh, maybe crime is my deal. And then he does. He just kind of goes into this down the into the underworld. Um, and so it's kind of this, and he kind of ends up kind of like hating Elvis because it's just like you left me into this world because he doesn't have that character to like keep him going.
Yeah.
Um, but it's kind of interesting. It's like you lose somebody that you don't know has been kind of your guiding angel. It's kind of fun to play with that character as well.
It seems like in the real world, people put I definitely feel like they put too much weight on celebrities as far as like what they say. And I mean, I'm gonna go way back, so I'm not controversial, but I remember when the Dixie Chicks had something to say about George W. Bush, and everyone lost their shit. And I'm like, who cares what the Dixie
I
Chicks say? Like,
know.
why is why are we getting our politics? And they're fine. I don't have an issue with them, but like, why are we going to this country band for our politics? Like, it's not like it would be one thing if it was uh, Rage Against the Machine.
Right.
They're a political band. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they said something, I could see people being up in arms. But like why? I don't understand why people kind of put that. And I mean, that's that same thing with that character in Elvis. Is like I don't understand. Like that's such a weird thing to like. That this famous person that I never met left me. Like how
Yeah.
can they leave you? They don't know. So that's a really interesting. I'm interested to see what that character's like.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. It's very strange. And the Dixie, it's weird that their career just went down the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy, and I feel like
Yeah.
it happens a lot now. But it's I figured if I went back enough, I could you know stay out of the current politics, which is not where I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, at least my take on it was like this guy was even if he wasn't thinking about it, like every day he was just sort of like, I've recreated myself to be not Elvis at this point. Like, because he's left me. I have to be someone else now. I have to move on and leave him alone because he left me. He just
Yeah, it's almost like what wouldn't Elvis do instead of what would Elvis do, you know?
Exactly, exactly. In a way, that's still that's still dealing with Elvis, you
Yeah, of
know.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's one of those like, oh, I'm not obsessed with them. I don't do anything that they would do intentionally, and you're like, that's kind of still the obsession.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Do you like fame is such a crazy thing? Um, would you ever want that? I mean, I feel like Stephen King is the writer comparison to Elvis. Like, would you ever want that kind of fame for your work?
I don't know, man. I yeah, I don't know. I had I was the oldest in a large family, and I kind of feel like I got enough of that.
That's spotlight. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
It
Um, and I kind of pers sort of made a choice to kind of like, I'm gonna just not be that big a part of. I don't know. I don't know. I would be able to handle it, but I don't think I would really want that big a fame.
yeah
I really don't think I could handle it. And I've I've been friends with people who are famous and they handle it pretty well, but it is a bummer, you know. I mean, if you're just going into a coffee shop or into like a machine, something, another the shop or something, and somebody comes up and they want a selfie or they want a photograph or whatever. And I think it can just be a bummer, you know.
yeah
It's just, and I think people that get into it and go for it, there's a part of them that want it, so they can get into it. But I'm not into it, so I think it would be harder for me.
yeah.
You know?
It's just interesting. It is I am realizing I'm at the exact amount of fame that I want.
uh,
Because I'm starting to get recognized, like either by my voice from the podcast or from other events that we do. And it's just like it always happens in the weirdest times. And it's like
uh,
very, very low level. Like I'm not,
uh,
there's not a humble brag, but like I was in CVS, just grabbing some things at CVS, and this guy's like, "Hey, you're the Inebriart guy," and I'm like,
uh,
"I'm really happy. I'm not buying anything embarrassing right now," and it's just
uh,
like it's I can totally understand, like the Belushi, people who are so depressed, like seem like they have everything and they're so depressed, and you're like, I could see, like, because even though you seem like you have everything, it's the privacy and intimacy and just quietness, and there are things that you're still lacking.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah. I think I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you on that part.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm still at that point where being recognized is super flattering, and I'm like, that is where I want to stay.
Yeah, stay there. Yeah.
Yeah, just every 6 months, like one person knows who I am. I got mistaken for someone um who's a owns a local brewery,
Uh-huh.
and to me that was just as flattering. I was like, hey, Paul's a great guy, I know that, and it's yeah, it's like I don't just the idea of like being on the spotlight all the time, or any moment of like miscalculation or you lose your temper is going to be like a big deal. And I mean, we all do it. So it's like, why should celebrities be any different? But if they're normal people, then they get like, you know, on blast on social media because they were rude to a waiter one time or something.
Yeah,
And,
right.
you know, so it'd be interesting for like Elvis in like this day and age with social media. That would be really like an
Oh
interesting.
gosh, I would. Yeah,
I was like, do we have? And I feel like maybe Taylor Swift is on that level.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I wonder how the Colonel would, Colonel Parker would handle it. I mean, he was kind of a crafty guy. I mean, the whole idea of Elvis going into well, he got drafted, so he had to
Yeah.
go. But Colonel Parker had this. He had this interesting.
Was that World War II or was that Vietnam?
It was
World War
no,
II?
it was in between. It was 1959, so it was after World War II and before Vietnam.
Okay.
So it was basically they were in Germany, sort of um, cleaning up stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And what they were basically doing, Friedberg um, was like a lot of munitions that had been left in Germany, and they
Oh,
were sort of
sure.
checking to see the ammunitions were any good, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Um, that's why I went with the explosion. I have the bomb munition blow up and uh, kill Elvis because like they were checking these things all the time, so
Yeah.
blow up. Um, but so they were going to draft him, and the Army's immediate idea was, okay, we just have you do, 5 USO shows, um, and just, on your whatever you want, we'll just pick, about five of them, and um, and the colonel was like, no, I think you should just do your 2 years as a grunt,
Yeah.
and it'll work for us, that
Hmm.
you're just a guy,
Yeah.
and Ellis just trusted him completely and said, okay, I'll do it. That's a tough pill to follow. To
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but if he had done it, then it would have just been all these bullshit things, and he'd have to keep putting up albums, but they'd be kind of crappy because he'd be there, and the army would have owned those things, and that was the
It,
whole.
and I feel like people would be really judgmental, like, oh,
Oh
look at this
yeah,
guy getting special treatment, blah, blah, blah. It's only because you're a celebrity.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think he looked at some of the people that had done that during World War II, that kind of stuff, and all of a sudden they were kind of B
Yep.
stars. So it was a really that was a really cool and smart move. So I kind of wonder what kind of stuff he would have come up with social media and so forth for Elvis if he was around now, the Colonel Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had all.
Does Colonel Parker feature in the book at all? Or
He does in later in the book because of course, he's suddenly left with no he because he Elvis was his only guy. I mean, he didn't
right.
have any other. But so in ours, he's like got like 12 people. He's trying to get the right Elvis.
Hmm.
So I have our guy just keeps running into all these guys um, that it's sort of like Frankenstein, just like the Hammer Frankensteins, where he just keeps trying to get the right Frankenstein, and so you
Yeah.
just keep running into these guys. They're like, oh yes, the golden cowboy that was supposed to be the next Elvis. Oh, it's this guy. It's just all these guys that Billy Clover keeps running into that were the wannabe Elvises like him.
Yeah. And
Uh,
that shit never pans out either. Like I'm not a sports guy, but I really like hockey, and I remember the number of times where like, oh, he's the next Wayne Gretzky or the next Marley Mew. They never were. They never were.
yeah,
Like they might
yeah,
have a few good seasons, but they were never what they were portrayed to be. It's like, I
yeah,
mean, it's lightning in a bottle. You can't capture that kind of, because it's not just the quote unquote talent, but it's the drive, it's the want, it's the right psychology, and just kind of like making that perfect anything, like everything has to come together. It's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. Another fun thing I got to do with this book is I got a graphic artist, because I change because I go like I think I told you it goes from 1959 to 1973,
Yeah,
and and when I changed to those different years, I didn't want to just have to have a page that said 1977, 1968,
yeah.
Um, so I got this really cool graphic guy, and he did mock-ups of various. So like I had some like the headlines of the newspaper with the headlines of Elvis dying, or I have a variety clip of Billy's um, his uh, his Hollywood debut,
Hmm.
and the backs the back of a boy's life thing with some stuff that you can buy some of Billy's memorabilia, that kind of shit.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
yeah, and like the Rolling Stone review of one of his albums and all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. And it just kind of adds this cool thing to the book. It's all
Oh,
throughout
that's a really cool. Like, I love when movies. The movie that jumps to mind is Blow with Johnny Depp. Like each
Mm,
era is shot on like that era appropriate film, and it gives you. It's really not. If you're not paying attention, you could not notice it, but it just lends that perfect, like, oh, this is clearly this era because
yeah.
it visually, and like that's a really cool way to do it in a book.
Well,
That's
thanks. Yeah, I've got a lot of that memorabilia, but it's the time and it's using our guys. And I
yeah.
got his stuff, and some of it's like really fits with what's going on in the story too. So it's kind of cool.
Um, I don't know if it's said in the original. Is this is out now
It's coming out in early August.
in early August? Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't want to tell people they should go get it if they have to wait. But they should
but
go in early August or
but
pre-order.
but we the pre-order is open now.
Okay, so they can pre-order it.
Yeah,
Um, and you got to help me out. Your publisher, is it
it's Pelicanesis.
Okay, because I was not going to be able to get
Yeah.
that. And do they do all your books? I thought I saw one of your other books on their website. I
Yeah,
looked this morning.
yeah, pelicanesis.com is the guy is Pelicanesis. It's a small uh, indie publisher, and they do a bunch of stuff, but he's really good.
Are you planning to do like signings like late the summer or anything? Or?
Yeah, we're gonna do some in LA.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah. Um, so it's Pelicanesis, Pelekine. I write that down. Write that
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
SIS.
SIS.
Yep. .com. All the damned mother's sons. Um, and we have a special code. This is so exciting. I love to give people cool stuff.
Yeah,
So if you use code Inebriart, Inebriart, you get 20% off. We're gonna include a link in the show notes that you can click on, and that'll take you to the website, and you can get a discount there. And we have a QR code. I just don't know if I can use that in the show notes, but I'll leave that to my producer to figure out. So here's a quick quasi-related question to kind of wrap
sure,
things up.
sure.
Did Elvis die when they say he did? Is he still alive? Like, what is your opinion on that whole kind of like? I
Uh,
don't want to ask if he's still alive because that I
uh,
mean I don't think he'd be alive even if he didn't die when they say he did.
yeah. I guess he died. I think he died. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he could. He's, I don't think he ever was alone. I mean, I don't think he could deal with it. Um, you he could always had to sleep. Even when he was sleeping, he always had to have someone with him, and he always had like multiple TVs on playing at the same time. I mean, he just always had to be in a group with a number of people. So I don't know how he would be able to pull that off, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's just too many people that had to be involved, you know? So yeah, I don't think he could pull it off. So I think he's dead.
Yeah. And it's just one of the, like, I feel like how do you disappear the most famous person? Like that's
Yeah,
just insane, you know?
yeah,
I used to
I
work
agree.
with this guy who was convinced it was fake, and one
Really.
day just took me down this whole rabbit hole of like total conspiracies, and all the oh, there's a photo of this, and the body was obviously a he was convinced that the body was like a wax sculpture, like you would have it like Madame Tussauds, and
Oh wow.
like those never look real. Like the most real one doesn't look real. So it's just yeah. I love a good conspiracy theory just because I find them kind of fun and silly, but at the same time baffling that people are convinced that the guy who had a drug problem didn't overdose. You're gonna tell me that's yeah. So
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
So but cool, man. Do you already have a next project in mind?
Yeah, I'm actually writing a new book right now, so I'm really excited, and I'm really excited about it. So,
Any inkling that you can tell us of like roughly what it's about, or
yeah, it's set in 1995 in Hollywood, and it's a ghost who lives in a, a hotel where there's a bunch of wannabe screenwriters and starlets and so forth, and there's also a, a demon living in the in the hotel.
oh,
Uh,
cool.
so yeah,
Sounds fun.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Well, Tim, I want to say thank you for your taking the time to talk to us and reaching out.
yeah.
And anytime, when that book's ready, feel free, come back. I love talking with you. It's always fun. And listeners, make sure you go to pelikinesis.com and use code Inebriart for 20% off. I'm assuming this book, I don't know if it works for other books, give it a try. But support, you know, an indie publisher and indie authors. That's always a good thing to do. And we'll catch you guys again next week. And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebriart to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebriart.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebriart or at Inebriart6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebriart, and all the other shows on the Inebriart Network, which you can find at Inebriart.com. Thanks again for listening.